Welcome, and thanks for stopping by. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to our podcast on one of your favorite platforms, I'm glad you're here. At this time, I would like to thank our partners and sponsors for their dedication to helping the show to grow. We cannot do what we do without their help.
Hey guys, you've reached the Millennium Beat. I'm glad you're here. I'm your host, Kevin James. Today I have with me Jared Branchley. Said that right?
How you doing? I'm happy
I'm
to be
doing
on. Thanks for
good.
having me.
Well, thank you very much for being here. This is going to be a little different than my normal style podcast that I do, but I think the listeners will get some great information. So let's talk about who Jared is and where he came from. So Jared, tell me your story.
Sure. Well, I'm from Utah, Ogden, Utah.
Okay.
I've been here all my life. I lived out of the country for a couple of years, but I grew up here. And I mean, to humble means, right? My father was a mechanic all his career, and my mom was a school cook. So it was humble. Like, and I'm the youngest of 7 kids. So
wow, you have a big family.
A very big family. What we do in Utah, we do well, and having kids is one of them.
It's like Texas. Everything is done big.
That's right. So we lived humble. We never wanted for anything, but we didn't have anything really lavish. But we had each other, and had a happy childhood, to be honest.
Probably middle class, upper middle, or middle class,
lower middle class.
Lower middle. Yeah. You weren't starving, but you weren't eating 5-course meals every day. So okay.
Yeah, going out to eat in the family was a rarity whenever that did happen. So
okay. Well, with 7 kids, I can imagine what that would cost.
Yeah, exactly. I got 3 kids now, so I can imagine. Like it was funny. Yeah. I was talking on the squirrel moment. I was having dinner with my mom, and then she saw this mother with like 6 kids, and she just looked at me. She's like, "How does she do it?" I'm like, "Mom, you had 7." So yeah, you're right.
Well, my grandparents, they had 12.
Oh wow! Okay.
I think I have in early days. 2 of them died, so they ended up having 10. But this is back in the early, probably 1920s or something like that. They had 12 kids. I have 12 aunts and uncles. None of them are unfortunately alive now, but
right.
But yeah, that's a big family. So Utah, I don't really know a lot about it. I've never been out there, but now that I'm getting people like yourself, I'm getting what they call the Millennium Bus. So I am putting people's names down. And I says, okay, I want to go to Utah. Okay, who do I know in Utah? Jared. Oh yeah, hey Jared. I want to do an in-person interview with you.
100%. I got 15 short-term rentals, Airbnbs here in Utah.
Okay,
I'll let you stay in one of them. No worries.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm in the process in the next year buying either a 40-foot diesel pusher or a used one or a brand new gas, 35-foot gas.
Nice.
So I used to drive buses for a living, so it's pretty much. So that's cool. So let's say a little bit about your family. All right. So let's go. Let's move the story along a little bit from there. So you were the baby, you said, of 7.
Was the baby. Yep.
I was the baby of 5. My running joke is I was an only child of 5. Because there's a 6-year gap between me and my brother, and between me and my oldest sister's 12 years. And I always say this every time we talk about this, is that my sister hated it because she used to take care of me, as an older sister does.
Yep.
And people would ask, "Oh, he's so cute." You know how babies, everybody's cute when you're a baby.
Yeah.
And he's so cute. Is he yours? She goes, "No, that's my little brother." So I always say my joke is I grew up an only child of five, and my sister
Yeah.
kind of resented me because she had to take care of me, and a lot of families are like that.
Oh, sure.
Did that happen in your family? I mean, how
Yeah.
much a gap between you and your oldest sibling?
My oldest brother, well, sibling, he 12 years, the same as you, right?
So
So
12 years, okay.
yeah. So and we never really communicated like hardly at all because by the time he
Right,
was, 18, I was like 5 or 6. In
right.
fact,
Same way.
we went like 4 years ago. We went to business together,
Oh,
and
wow.
I talked to him more during those couple years we had a business together than I
Right.
did my entire life. So
Okay.
that was kind of a cool experience to kind of get to know him.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was I was very energetic. I mean, little kid. I always like to make people laugh and have fun. And
That's good.
yeah,
So
it was good.
now,
Yeah.
were you voted the class clown in high school?
And this is okay. So I'm gonna be honest, or no one believes me when I say this, but I was voted most likely to run an illegal cartel. That was what it was. It's on my
I don't think we had. I live in Massachusetts. I don't think we had anything like that. That we had class clown, most likely to succeed, most likely to get married, stuff like that. And I was in. I'm sure you've heard of Amway. I was in that. And I used to hang around with millionaires and their kids. So I was be successful and stuff like that. And I call it applied knowledge, and you might know this in real estate. I mean, you can give me all the knowledge in the world, but if I don't apply it, it ain't any good. It ain't any good to me but you could give me one bit of information and then I apply it. And next thing you know, instead of making $50,000, I'm making 150 or 250 or $350,000. So people like yourself is necessary for people.
Oh,
Because you want to
100%.
help them out. So
The thing is, like one of my mentors says on that thing you just said, that really kind of struck a chord because one of my mentors, he says, knowledge is not power. That's a lie. It's applied knowledge is power. Because I know a lot of smart, broke people.
Mhm.
They're just not applying what they know.
Well, there's also common sense too. I mean, I've had people that are smart that are not smart enough to get out of the rain. That hey, it's raining. Let me get out of here. They're book knowledge, but not common sense knowledge. And I think in the market, whether it's you like in real estate or people in stocks or buying and selling, flipping houses, knowledge is good, but applying the good stuff. I think what happens today, and I said this years ago, in Amway, you used to get one tape and you would listen to it over and over and over again.
Mhm.
So you really kind of get it into your brain and you applied it. And then they got into tape of the week, tape of the month. And it's the same with church services. You hear a message today on Sunday, next week you hear another message. You don't really can say, can I take that information? And it's kind of like what they talk about scriptures, and the Bible talks about chewing on them, meditating on them. We just read it over so quickly. We don't really it's like eating food. It's like, okay, we put it in the mouth and then we chew it and then we swallow it. Where they say it's better to put it in and chew on it for a little while. And that's where savor it, you kind of enjoy it. And I think in society, we've got so much of going from A to B to C to D. We don't, the analogy that just coming to my head is stop to smell the roses.
Yeah.
Everything is, I have one question I was thinking when you're telling me you have 7. I know that you said there's 12 different years, just like myself. Yeah. Was there any of okay, well, let's go this way. Let me back up before you say that. Okay.
Sure.
You said your brother's the oldest.
Yes.
Right? And you're the youngest. So that's 2 boys. So what are the other 5?
We have, there's 3. So I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. So there's 4 boys in our family and then 3 daughters, 3 sons,
okay.
4 sons and 3 daughters.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And the thing is, so being that we were like not wanting, but if I wanted anything extra, I had to go out and get it. So even at an early age, I kind of had the entrepreneur spirit, I guess you would say.
Okay.
But my parents did not like that at all. As far as because their parents, my grandparents, they both were in businesses and they failed miserably. And they're very risk averse about anything like that. But I remember when I was like 6, I would go out and me and my friend, we found shiny rocks because they looked cool to us. We were 6. And this is back in the 80s. So it was actually okay to knock on people's door when you're little. And I would just go to my neighbor's yard and just I'll just knock on their door and say, "Hey, do you guys want to buy shiny rocks?" And they just laugh at me, but they would buy it out of pity. Like, all right, here's a quarter, kid. And for a 6-year-old in the '80s, that was like $1 million. You know? So I was like,
oh yeah,
amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
Even growing up, it's just like if I wanted to go to the movies with my friends, I'd just mow a couple lawns, rake a couple leaves, shovel. If it was winter, we'd shovel walks. And so it was kind of nice just having my own little bank. Okay. And so I always had that kind of the entrepreneur little spirit in at the very least, right?
Oh, that's cool. Now, did the rest of your siblings have the same spirit, or was it just you? Were you a little bit different? Just you?
I was different. I am definitely the not black sheep, but I'm definitely
different.
A blue sheep. Just different. Yeah, you know what I mean? Just, yeah. My brother and sisters are all successful in their career. Whether engineer, computer programmer, whatever it is that they were in, they've done well. But they're very much. I'm going to go my 9 to 5. I'm planning to work 40 years of my life and then retire, and hopefully the pile of money that I saved up lasts before I die. Okay, so that's kind of like, and that's like most Americans, right? Just
right. Yeah.
I don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, it's funny that a lot of Americans are living from paycheck to paycheck, and I understand that. I mean, I've learned to be a saver a little bit, and it comes in handy because if instead of paying credit card debt, I pay off the credit cards with the savings I had. Sure. What good is it if I'm making 5% interest, but I'm paying 30% interest on a credit card? Right. So so it's just different stuff. So you grew up with your brothers and sisters and stuff like that, and stuff like that. Where did you go from? That was the early years in like junior high school and stuff like that. Where did you go from there? Did you go into college, into your field, or was it a separate field when you went into college?
So I had I didn't have a lot of self-worth back then. I knew I can work and I can, it's hard to out blitz me at the very least. People can't work me. They can't out blitz me. But I didn't think like, because of what my parents have, even after years of being kind of entrepreneur spirited, and after kind of and no fault of my parents, I'm not trying to change them by any means. They're just different mindset, and that's fine. And so they always like, that's risky. You're going to, lose your shirt. And so like, okay. And even growing up, because I was dubbed to having a learning disability because I had ADD, dyslexia. Okay. And so, I mean, I just learned differently. And I think those things are kind of my superpower. But at the time, I didn't think so. I had a teacher tell me when I was 8 or 9, it was like second grade. And she said, "Jared, I hope you enjoy hamburgers." I was like, "Well, yeah, I love hamburgers. What do you mean?" "Because you're going to be flipping them for the rest of your life." And so that kind of stuck, like, like this person of authority is like, you're not going to amount to anything, dude. Like, just calm down, shut up, sit down. You know what I mean? That's so
people like that shouldn't be teachers. That's what I say.
100%. I agree.
You need to encourage people. You will never tell them you're never going to amount to anything. Now, it could work to the benefit the fact that you could say, "Hey, I want to prove you wrong." Exactly. But you're really not encouraging the person to be a better person. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, for the majority of people, that they'll take it internally and just it'll downsize them as opposed to. But I agree. Right. I think there's people that told me stuff I couldn't do, and I made that was my energy, right? That was my fuel. So that yeah, I've had both ends of it. And so after I graduated and I lived out of the country for a couple of years, and I was just teaching, and I served as a mission on my church. I was just teaching people in Mexico about Jesus Christ. It was really fun.
Okay.
I came back and I met my wife and we got married. So I was 23 and I got a job at Walmart, and this is the second job. So I was on the phones. I was in calling people collections, things like that. So I was just on the phone.
Fun stuff.
I got
everybody loves talking to the collection guy.
Exactly. I was everyone's favorite. Trust me. Yeah.
I can imagine.
I got yelled at quite a bit, but so. I got this job at Walmart, but it's when there's not a ton of competition, great people there, you can get promoted quite quickly. Right. So I was a part-time cashier, got promoted to front-end manager like 2 months in. Wow. And I was like, okay, so this is a thing. Let me shift my hours and make it full-time over here. Okay. So I was working there at Walmart for over 12 years. I would just every couple months, years, I would just get promoted. I was over I was in my third store, was getting transferred over as every promotion. And I thought that was my career. Like, this is it. I'm going to be a store manager soon.
Right.
And I was probably when I quit, if I would have stayed there, I would have been like maybe within a year, I would have been store manager because I was at that trajectory. So I was just one level underneath my store manager. But something happened. My wife got pregnant with our third child because there's an 8-year gap between number 2 and number 3.
Oh, wow.
She was an unplanned blessing, happy to have her. Absolutely amazing. She's 6 now, going to be turning 7 here this year.
Okay.
But something happened to me because if your listeners that worked retail or restaurant business, you understand when it's the holiday times, they want you there at the store. They want you at the restaurant. You got to be there. And because of just my ambition and how I worked, I was the go-to guy. Like, Jared, go overnights on Christmas on Christmas Eve, and I want you to, we gotta you and the team are gonna make it like Christmas never happened. They have the clearance section, and they have the new holiday. So I was never there for the holidays, ever. So when that happened, when my wife got pregnant with our third child, I was like, something has to change, because I remembered all of the holidays missed. I did not see my son open his Christmas present until he was 12.
Wow. 12 years.
And my daughter, until she was like 10.
Wow.
And so it was, and being able to enjoy the magic, because that's what it truly is magical. For anyone who has kids, they understand this.
Right.
Like with my third child, she would come down to the stairs and she believed in Santa Claus, and she's just that's magic. And I missed all that with my kids, and so I just knew something had to change. So that was kind of like the paradigm shift for me. Like, this grind is just it's not going to give me the lifestyle that I want, because, we had savings, but it was basically paycheck to paycheck,
Right. Yeah. Like a lot of people. And I can understand that. I did retail. I used to work for Blockbuster. I was like the second one in charge of Blockbuster on the East Coast of Florida. And, and holidays and stuff like that, you had to work, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and because everyone wanted to rent a video. But, and so retail is the same way. I work in television now, and we're 24 hours, 7 days a week, but I don't mind working certain holidays. I'm just me. So there's nobody else. So I don't really, if I can, I'll give somebody that, like yourself, a day off because they have a family. And they're full time, so they get the benefit. They get paid anyway,
right?
And I have a chance to make a few extra dollars. I said I'm not doing anything. Now the holiday lately has been falling on days that I don't work, and the people that do work it want to work it. So I don't really care. But yeah, so you're getting to that revelation of the fact that you're working all the time. You're not seeing your kids. You're not seeing your family. You're not being there for the first of this, first of that. And so your brain is basically going like, there's got to be something better than this. Yeah. Because you probably were doing okay. You were moving up the chain. Yeah. Your progression. It's not like you were stuck as a stock boy for 10 years, and you weren't moving up. You moved up from the beginning. You kept moving up. So it was progression. I'm sure hopefully the pay was in progression, but still you were losing out the most valuable thing it is. It's especially when you're married and you have kids, you're missing that prime time with your wife and definitely with your kids. That only happens in that kid's life once. They only turn once, right. Twice. Then they turn it once. So once it's gone, it's gone. They're first of everything. So basically, I can see your mind spinning and saying, "Hey, there's got to be something different." So you're in that position. When does it start getting into now? You finding a way to do something different. I mean, you got the mindset. But what?
So I knew, just like you said, I knew something had to change, but I had no idea what. And real estate definitely was not on my radar, like 0%, not even really close. So I actually went back. I went back to school, just online, so I could take my own hours. So like while the kids were sleeping, I can go into and I went back to school for psychology actually. Because I was like, you know what? People tell me their problems anyways. I might as well get paid for it.
Right.
And so
Like
it's
like a
okay.
bartender.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
everybody tells the bartender.
Exactly. So I was the guy. I mean, I would listen, give decent advice, I guess. And so people come to me like, well, that's that. I have not a gift, but I'm good at that. So let's see what I can do. So I started to do that, but so I was working 60 hours a week because I was salary, and I was over like 400 associates. So on average, it was 60 hours a week with holiday times. They were like 70, 75.
Wow.
It was
It's
just
kind of like what I work,
crazy.
but I don't get as paid as much.
Yeah, exactly. I think during Christmas time, I did the math. I was like I'm getting paid like $5 an hour here because there's just all those just hours. I rarely take days off. It's just there at the store the whole time.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go to school and figure something out. And a friend of mine at church, he came to me and he was like, he did a terrible job, but he was trying to tell me like to come to this workshop, this real estate workshop, and they're going to teach you, kind of how to get started in real estate, how to pay off your home quicker without having to change your lifestyle.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, dude, what kind of snake oil are you selling? Like, all right. And so I was 100%. I was being nice, but I was planning to blow him off. Like I wasn't going to go.
Right.
My wife, to her forever credit, she came up to us about halfway through our conversation, and she heard it. It's like, oh well, I want to learn how to pay off my house quicker, like real estate. I mean, I like passive income. Yeah, I want to learn something about that. So, me being wanting to continue being married, I'm like, okay, you want to go? I guess we're going. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's right. A happy wife is a happy home.
Facts. That is so true. So I was we went and we've been married. Now we've been married for 18 years now. I'm trying to hit 19, hoping.
Right.
She hasn't got wise yet. She's still.
I think she'll stick around.
Yeah, she has plenty of options, but she's sticking with me, so I like that.
That's good. Yeah.
We went and this guy is a typical like kind of like workshop seminar kind of thing. He was teaching a lot of stuff, and I was so skeptical of this whole thing. My arms were folded. I was just like sitting back, and it's exactly. I was just like, okay, all right, let's just. Is this 90 minutes? Oh my! I got to sit. Okay, fine. And this guy, and he kept on doing this irritating. I was just annoyed. He kept on doing the same thing again and again.
Right.
And I was like, I wish he would stop doing that. And that thing that really irritated me, he kept on making sense. And I just like, man, that does make sense. And say bring up this, that's right too. And so when he talked about like, because real estate again wasn't in my radar, because I thought you had to have perfect credit. Right. You have $1 million to even start something like that. I had a reputation of degrees or whatever. Like I just never looked into it, so I just was out of my reach.
Right.
And he was talking about how to do real estate without using your money and credit. Now, if you have money and great credit, is it easier? 100%.
Right.
But is there other ways of doing it without that? 100%. So I was like, okay, this is great. Like at the end of it, I was like, I went from like arms folded and kind of scowling to I was at the edge of my seat by the time the whole thing was over.
Okay.
So I was like, this is amazing. This is kind of what we were praying for, what we wanted to achieve. And so me and wife, we looked at each other. We never we never had the moment like, is this something for us? It was just like, how are we going to do this? That was our. It was never once had that question like, should we do this? This is like, okay, we're in. Let's figure it out. And that's what started us. We kept on going to these workshop events, learning things. We got educated. We got education. It was an online course that they had that they were selling, and we just went like to him. And I didn't have a ton of time to learn this stuff because I didn't know anything. I was like a baby in the field, didn't know anything. So there was a season of learning, and with me going to school full time and working the 60, 70 hours a week, I maybe had and still wanting to spend time with my kids and my wife, right? I maybe had 30 minutes to an hour a day at best to kind of focus in learning. But I did something what's called a net time. Tony Robbins talks about this. And
I've heard his name,
yeah. Net time is no extra time. right? So when I was mowing my lawn, I would like listen to some of these classes, listen to podcasts. I would like listen to books. My car became a university on wheels. So when I was traveling, driving, I would just be learning as much as I possibly could while I did it. In fact, we had walkie-talkies in my Walmart, and instead of my earpiece, I had my headset in, and I was just listening to education throughout the day. So I was able to get the season of learning was moved on pretty rapidly because I was using the time I didn't have, but while I was doing other things. And so I did have to kind of re-listen to a lot of things because, you know,
right, because you multitask. I hear the word multitasking. I do that a lot too. It's like if I'm doing something else and I have to be somewhere and I have nothing really to do, I will do something else, you know, for my business or for my, you know, editing, or because if I did everything just a block, you know, there's only 24 hours in a day and I have 30 hours worth of stuff to do. And even if I get up at 1 o'clock in the morning, go to bed at 11 or 12 o'clock, you know, there's only so much you can do. So you have to multitask. Absolutely. So, and listen, that's what's nice about audio podcasts and other things like that, or books on CD or books on the audio, is that you can actually learn it while you're driving because it's just dead time. Either you just listen to the radio or you're not, or in some cases like me, I don't listen to anything. I just zombie out for like, especially in the morning. I'm not a morning person. So I listen to nothing. So listen to a podcast that you can actually learn and fill your head. And you did that in real estate. Now, I have a question about this. Now, you said that's being skeptic and stuff. And a lot of people today, unfortunately, there's so many scams out there. It's ridiculous. How did you get over the skepticism? What made you change and say, hey, this is legit? Because people are probably asking that. Oh, yeah, I've heard of this and I heard of that. How do they know the difference between something that is legit and something that you're just the guy who's up there speaking is just trying to get your money because he's selling a book or he's selling a course that maybe doesn't work, but he knows how to sell a book. How did you get over that skepticism? So somebody else might be going through the same thing.
That's a really good question. I love that. And like I said, I was very skeptical. I was like, what snake oil is this guy trying to sell me in the very beginning? And there's three typical questions that people ask themselves when they're confronted with anything like this, right? Whether it's people are educated and they're claiming a lot of cool things. They ask so the first question, is this real? Another question is, can other people do this? Have other people done this? And can I do it? Right? Because sure, Joe Blow over here, he's closed on his 100th deal in the second month,
Right. But isn't there also another question too? Is how much is this going to really cost me?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because you talked about courses and stuff like that. You didn't say a dollar sign to them, but nothing basically is for free.
Nothing's
for
free. Right.
So
100%. Yeah. The
old expression, and it's true to a degree. You have to spend money to make money. I mean, it's you don't expect everything to be free. Because the value of something that is free, you get what you paid for.
Right.
I mean, and also if I had to pay you, $100 an hour for a course, I get information. Well, you better be sure that I'm going to pay and do what you told me to do, because I just paid you $100 for that information. Compared to if you don't charge me anything and you give it to me free and go, oh, that's good. No, but
you don't value it if you don't value it. Right. Even if you can pay, some amount, people are going to take more action than if you just have the free information, right?
Right. And that's the thing too. Also, people are sitting there and they're asking that question too. Is like, how much is, I can't even afford rent right now. It's like, I can't afford groceries, and, today I can't afford gas, so there's always an excuse. I mean, winning people will not make excuses. They make reasons why to do something. Losers, in a sense, will make excuses why not to do something. So,
no, totally. And you have to be really careful out there, especially nowadays. Like the good and bad about our current situation, the information's out there, but there's a lot of crap information out there as well. Like a lot of BS in the world, and you have to sift through a lot of that stuff. We got lucky. So that company that we bought the education from, I mean, it really was a top notch company. So we got lucky. And in fact, after the fact, that's when I kind of learned about the real estate education cycle or system. There's a lot of just fly by night. They'll come in for a 3-day workshop, and then you pay $100 for the workshop, and then that workshop is a sales pitch for their 7-day workshop.
Next workshop. Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Exactly.
Like,
so
buy this one, and then you can get this one, but and then you need this one.
Right.
You know,
yeah. We gave you enough information to get in trouble, but if you really want to be successful, come buy this. Give us $40,000 in for the 7-day thing, and then you'll be ready. And then $100,000. I had a friend of mine. We went after I got involved in real estate. He spent over $100,000 on these gurus.
Oh wow!
I'm like, whoa! And I met, and I don't want to mention any companies' names, but I met a lot of like these real estate coaches,
right?
And they're like, yeah, I'm 2 of them for one company actually. It's just from happenstance, just being in the field, and it's like, yeah, I was a coach for 3 years for XYZ company, but I didn't do a deal till after I left the company. So they were coaching people how to do deals, and not to say the information was bad. They had their manuals they were reading from, but it's just like because going to college and going and taking like a business class, and my business professor never owned a business. It's a little bit different, not to say that his information is wrong, but it's just like, because the people I was learning from, like when they're teaching how to do fix and flip, they've done 100 fix and flips a year on average. Okay. And they're telling me like how to do this. And so it's like, okay, this is a little bit, this is what we did. This is some pitfalls. Don't do that. Here's some, real trade secrets. Well, secrets is used too much, but real trade, tips, dramatically different from just, reading from a book or getting that type of information. So we got lucky and honestly to find a decent company, but for us, our proof was like, we met so many people that were actually doing deals. In fact, I would actually go to some of their properties they were actually doing and seeing the numbers, what they were making and how they were able to fund it without using their money, how they found this off-market property that they're going to flip or keep it as a rental or whatever the strategy was. Right. So that was really helpful to see that they were doing it. And then seeing the systems that they had was able to like, okay, yeah, even with my limited time, I can have that season of learning and then start jumping in. So yeah, that was like, I think it's a very easy for people to kind of fall into that trap, I guess you'd say, as far as with just buying a course and then it being garbage, or they don't complete their buying a course and realize that it's not what they're promised it was.
Right. Now I was looking at the kind of our show notes and stuff like that, and I was reading one of the things, and you just mentioned it too, and I'm looking down at it. So sorry, people that are watching, I'm not looking at you at the moment, but I'm looking at the paper. The master to the art of finding off-market deals. What is that? What is off-market deals?
So when you typically want to find a property, whether it's for an investment property or for yourself, you talk to a real estate agent, and then they're all, when you want to sell a house, you put it on the market, right? So the real estate agents have access to everything that's on the MLS is what they call it. And so they're like, okay, you want this type of house with this type of bedroom, this price point. Here are these 20 houses that fit your criteria. There you go. Okay. And everyone else in the world can see those same things, right? So what I like to do, and what I was taught is how to find off-market properties. So properties where I am the only one that knows it's for sale. So that's what's really good. And the beauty of just real estate in general, there's so many different strategies, different ways of making money, whether that's massive or passive. You can find the right one that kind of fits your personality. So with my ADD power, like no one can outblitz me. Right. I was very good as just talking to people, starting conversations, and showing them the value of what I can do to get them out of a tough situation. Okay. So, I mean, even like out of the box thinking where I would go to the eviction court and like, well, I mean, people are evicting. Why? They're not selling their house. They're getting these bad renters out. But yeah, I would just go in because you can find out what day, because it's usually depending on the court system, but usually like every day of the week or, every Friday, for example, they're doing eviction courts. And so you can just go and watch. Okay. And so I would just go and watch and I would listen to the stories, the pain points of this landlords. And so they're at a flux. So it's like, they just kick this guy out. They can either fix it up, because if anyone that's been through an eviction or seen it, they never leave the place in a great spot. Like there are holes in the wall, there's trash everywhere. It's never in a good spot. So that landlord either has to like fix it up and try to find a new tenant, or they can fix it up and try to sell it. I offer them another solution. So I start a conversation. We talk about their pain points. Like, oh man, I just noticed that. Yeah, that was rough. And people love to talk about themselves. So if you're just like present and this, repeating the last 3 words that they say, and like, oh, tell me more about that. They'll tell you the whole. They'll tell you the whole story of their challenges. And so I talk to them like, why did you get into it? Like, well, I want a cash flow. Like, would you like to keep the cash flow and not have to worry about the property anymore? Well, what do you mean? Like, I'm going to buy your property. I'm making payments. You're going to get the continuing cash flow. And then you don't have to worry about it. You're just looking to have money coming in, and I'm going to buy this property. So now they're like, they're selling me this property on what they call seller financing. So I'm not even using the bank. I'm just making payments to the seller.
Right.
And so it's a massive win-win. And a lot of times with these guys, they have like 5 properties. And you know what? This has been a headache. I don't want to deal with this thing. And I talk to people that don't even have their properties in LLC. Like they've took a crummy course, or they watched 3 YouTube videos and think they got it, and they end up getting over their heads. And so those type of things, like not just going through foreclosures. That's every TikTok, every YouTube video says, you want to find off-market deal, go to foreclosures. That's a great way to go. But I'm talking to people I'm looking up divorces. I'm looking up people where I'm having people that are what they call bird dogging, where they're driving around looking for distressed properties. And then I talk to mailmen.
Oh, wow.
Like they know, or mail people, right? They know the roots, and I'll say, hey, if you point me in a direction of a distressed property, or like, they're not the boarded up windows, maybe it's long grass, it's maybe vacant, and I buy it, I'll pay you $2,000.
Right.
And a lot of times these guys are like, oh yeah. And right then and there, they're writing like 5 addresses for me. So just those type of things. That's what I mean by as far as like out of the box thinking and just ways of finding those off market properties, right? Where I contact them and like, because a lot of these scenarios, they just want their problem to go away. And people will trade equity for peace of mind every single time.
Right.
Whatever that may be, right?
I'm also getting that can be applied to a lot of things. I'm looking for, I told you earlier in the pre-show that I'm buying the Millennium Bus and trying to find one. And I always joke about it. So I said, some couple is buying a nice coach right now in 2023. Unfortunately, a year from now, the guy dies. I don't want him to die, but I'm just using this as a scenario. He dies. The wife now, they had a coach, a brand new one. They buy $400,000 for this brand new coach. 2 years from now, one dies, and the wife says, "I can't drive this thing. I can't." It's related to my husband. I want to get rid of it. And I come along and I said, "Hey, I can give you, $150,000 or $200,000 for that coach." They just want to get rid of it because, again, it's related to her ex, or not her ex, but her dead husband. It's just sitting there, and the longer it's just like a car. The longer it sits, the worse it's going to get. 100%. So in the same way with you were talking about the real estate, whether it's also a car, if you look around. So that knowledge could be applied to a lot of things, just not just 100%. Real estate, because because a lot of times when you talk about people that have money, they love depressions and stuff like that, where they can buy stuff for pennies on the dollar. Because if you get a house and it goes into foreclosure or something like that, I'd rather sell it to you, even though I might not make much, even if it just makes enough to pay off the loan that I have.
Right.
Now I'm cleared. I'm not into bankruptcy, or I'm not into this. But you got a good deal because you got it at a pennies on the dollar.
It's a win-win. And the thing is, like, I've had a lot of people have, like, they think it's immoral, but it's like, how is that immoral? Like, I've had people, like, multiple times where at the closing table in tears of gratitude. Because, like, think about someone going through foreclosure. And if anyone's been through this, they understand what I'm talking about. They're getting, they're behind in their house payments, they're behind in every other payment too. They're getting their cars repossessed, and they're hitting this nonstop just bombardment of, like, reminders of how unfortunate the situation is. Every phone call, it's instead of like, oh, cool, who's calling me? It's a dread moment because it's a collection call or whatever it is. And so when I come in, I'm like, hey, tell me about your problem. Tell me about your challenge. Right. And we have that conversation, that heart to heart. And I come in like, we can buy your property. We're going to leave the mortgage in place, but I'm going to catch you up on your payments. We're going to stop the foreclosure. The property's going to be mine. You're going to have enough money so you can pay off that truck. so that you can have money for the moving expenses or whatever that their pain point or wants that they wanted. We kind of figure that out, right? And then I'm going to buy the property and the mortgage will stay in place, because a lot of times it's lower interest than you can get now if you did traditional financing. And so it's a massive win-win, because if I didn't come, they would have had a foreclosure on the record. They would have lost 100% of their equity. They would have lost everything. And so they really couldn't buy another house for like 7 years unless they pay like massive interest rate, because the foreclosure stays in their credit report for 7 years.
Supposedly, I thought we were talking about. We were just talking to somebody about bankruptcy. He was bankrupt in 2010, and his credit score is 8 something right now. But his bankruptcy still shows up on his credit report, and that was 2010, so that was 13 years ago. And he could fight it, but he says, "Why should I? I don't need it." He pays everything cash now and stuff like that, and his house is paid off, and cars he buys cash, so he doesn't really care. I mean, he has a high score,
Right.
But let's go back a little bit and revisit something that you talked about. Understanding, helping people with the foreclosure coming in there and kind of being the word it came to be the Batman, to save the day, your Superman. You came to save the day, because again, they go foreclosure. There's a lot of negatives to that and stuff like that. You come and say, hey, I'll take it over for you and stuff like that. What are other ways that, because you talked about buying stuff with not your credit or your money. Talk a little bit about that.
So, in 6 years, I've done over 80 transactions, and in all of those transactions, I have never, not once, used my own credit, and only a handful of those I use my own money. Oh. So that's the power of just having a little bit of knowledge can get you. So as far as, and eventually I'm sure there's going to be a situation where I am going to use my own credit, but I like saying I haven't, so I try to keep it that way.
Right.
But as a bragging point, I suppose.
Well, there's an old saying too: it's opium, others people's money. You're better to use other people's money than your money.
Exactly. So one way, for example, is kind of what I mentioned earlier is with a purchase option of subject to. So you're buying it subject to the existing financing. Okay. So the property goes into my name, and then the mortgage stays in place. It stays on title. We're making payments on their behalf, but the property title is now my company's name. Okay. So that's one way to kind of get that, but that's still a lot of times they need money to get caught back up. They need money, so they can move and do these things. So on those, we would use there's a ton of options. So private money lenders, where they have some capital, they want to throw it in. Retirement accounts. Okay. Did you know that retirement accounts can invest in real estate?
Huh. Didn't know that.
They can. So now there's a ton of rules. I don't want people to listen to this and to start going willy-nilly.
Right.
You can end up in handcuffs if you do it wrong. So I want to make sure that if anyone,
we don't want that to happen.
Exactly. Thinking about it, if you want to contact me, we can have a conversation about it, or just make sure you get with a professional in your local area to help you. So I just got as a caveat, I don't want to.
Right.
So a lot of people, so you can put your retirement account into a self-directed IRA, and as long as you're following the rules, you can invest in real estate. And so right now, people have their retirement accounts in like stock market, and they're getting like 0%, last year, or maybe on average 7%. And depending on the deal, right? I never promise a specific unless it's an actual loan. Right. But depending on the deal, I'm doubling that. Some of these guys. So three of my last five short-term rentals was funded by someone else's retirement account. And I'm giving on some of these, I'm giving them 20 to 30% ROI on their money. So they're static, and the great thing, if I just left and went to Canada or Mexico, just ditch town, then that retirement account can take over that property. And now the retirement account owns the property. So you can own rental retirement account. It's just amazing. It's really cool. So, and also there's like lease options, like buying the property with lease option. There's so many. There's hard money lenders, private money lenders. There's a plethora of ways of purchasing the properties without using. And the thing is, though, a lot of times, a lot of investors, they'll have like one or two. Hard money lender, private, and then that's it. Me, I have like 6 or 7 different ways where I can make this deal work. Okay. So that's another way why I was able to get a lot of these deals where people would turn it away, because like that one strategy that they had wouldn't fit that. But me, I'm like, okay, how can I cookie cut? How can I it's like a puzzle. Like, how can I make this thing work? How can I get this
Right.
person what they need?
Mhm.
And then, make sure that I'm making money and it hits my numbers and my criteria. So having all those tools in my tool belt has been super helpful, and having the right connections to, with like a community of real estate investors where I can, partner with or just work with has been tremendously helpful.
One of the things I'm thinking of, somebody might be thinking of and asking is, 2000, I don't know, when did you actually, let me ask this question first. When did you actually start getting into real estate? What year was it?
It was about 2017, 16, right around there, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of.
The reason why I said that, I remember I was looking for a house. I was qualified. It was about 2008. And then 2009, 2010, everything crashed. So people are saying, like, real estate, it's like stock, how do I know it's a good time to buy or a good time to sell? Because for a while there, I mean, the value of houses, and you could buy a house for $100,000. The next thing is valued at $200,000.
Yeah.
And you said, wow, I'm getting $200,000 for my house. But then you have to go buy another house that's worth $200,000. But, so there's timing. I mean, there's also a little knowledge of knowing the market. It's kind of like the analogy that I get is, it's like looking out and seeing the clouds are coming. It's dark. Yeah. And you say, okay, I'm not going to go outside and go to the beach because it's going to rain. Mm-hmm. So there's and the real estate would be that we'll say there's a little bit of wisdom. You're just not throwing your money out. You're not buying property that it might not be a good investment. Right. I give you an example. Like I told you about this coach, and he did the same thing. He says, well, I know that you're going to come up with $30,000 as an older coach. Pay me $10,000 and I'll bank the other $20,000 over 2 years. So because he didn't need the money, but he wanted me to buy the coach. So, so he was going to do that. Right. No. Yeah. So that's what you're talking about in the real estate is, you got a motivated seller. Mm-hmm. And if it's off market, I think it's off market is good because I know I got some friends, and actually one of my partners is in real estate. He sells $1 million homes and stuff.
Nice.
Is you go to a house and it's worth, it's years ago, a house would be $120,000, and then you make an offer of $100,000, and then they come back and it's counter offer, or oh yeah, we accept it or don't. Well, today is we want $120,000. I come up and say, okay, I'll give you $130,000. It's overpriced. Well, I'm going to give you more than you're asking for. Mm-hmm. And they're selling like crazy because they know that they got a value and it's worth something. So yeah, you gotta know the market, the signs of the time, signs what's going on. It's just you got to do some research, and just can't do it nonchalant, lazy daisy type of thing.
And here's the thing: so on a downturn market, that's when you see the professionals pop up, right? Mm-hmm. In an upturn, so like 2-3 years ago, the market was going crazy. Even during COVID, like the real estate market across the country was like insane. Like it was just like you're saying, they put a house for 120, and they would get $200,000 or $150,000 offers, and they were accepting it, right? I was doing flips at the time still, and I would like put a flip on, and people would over ask it. So like during the course of my 4 months of finishing that flip, I would make $40,000 more than I was expecting because things are going crazy. And so during those times, you can be very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to be nice. You can watch a couple of YouTube videos and make money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like, and that's how it was in 2008. I talked to many investors that were in it at that time. And like, it was just like they bought a house, and then 6 months later, that's all they did. They just waited for appreciation and sold it, and they made $100,000. Right. So like, oh, I'm a real estate investor. I got this. And then that's when everything crashed. And then suddenly because they had those ninja loans, and you didn't really need, you can have like 20 loans. They wouldn't even bat an eye at you. Right. Mm-hmm. So but when it crashes, that's when people are like, okay, the opportunities are there. So now what I see in our current market, because things have slowed down, they increased the interest rate, that they have slowed things down. And now all of these guys that were like, because I would wholesale, so I would like find people that needed to sell their property, get under contract, then sell my rights to the contract to someone else that wanted to flip, and I'd make like 10, 15 grand on that transaction. And I'm in and out, basically the middleman. Mm-hmm. And I had people buy my deals, and they're like, yeah, I mean, my money costs are really high. And so if I'm planning on appreciation, so it's a terrible idea. But But what I'm seeing, it's a long story for a short point. But right now, it's people that that know how to run numbers and know how to run the business correctly, where they know how to have the cheaper funds. They know how to negotiate that deal and find those deals. They're the ones that's really succeeding. Now a lot of like we would have 100 people looking at one property. Now you're like 20 because those nuanced people like, oh, I can't make money anymore. Okay,
right.
Or I lost money because of this and that. So on a downturn market, that's when most millionaires are created. So I'm really excited. And
cool.
Even though I didn't live through 2008, I was taught and trained by people that did. And every transaction, even when I first started, I was like, what happens if 2008 happens? Like on this flip, what is my A, B, and C plan? So if the market goes out, because especially when you have other people's money involved, you really got to make sure, like, I don't want to lose money, but I'd rather lose my money than your money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
True. Oh yeah.
Especially with this business when it's a relationship business. And so I don't want that reputation out there. I don't want that relationship to be damaged. So I was very, very cautious and even speaking to my partners like, hey, so this is our A plan. If everything goes well, you're going to make 50 grand. I'm going to make 60 or whatever it is. Right. And if 2008 happens again or something similar, like the market tanks, this is our plan. This is what we're going to do. And then if that doesn't work, we're going to do this other plan. So I don't touch a deal until I have like 3 different exit strategies. Okay. And so if I can make money in downturn property and when I buy it, I know it's going to be good regardless. Right. So yeah.
All right. So that's cool. That's a good philosophy and stuff like that. I'm looking at one of our last 2 questions is how can you help people reach their dreams? And what would you say to people that says all that information you've been giving for the last 45 minutes is great and stuff like that, but how can I need a kind of a point A, B, C type of plan a little bit to get started. What direction should I be looking into? Because I'm working like you, I'm working a lot of hours, I'm making money, but I'm not making enough. Even I myself, that I have some goals, like, okay, how can I have extra income? Because I used to hang around with millionaires, and the best thing they say is residual income is the best income to have. It's awesome. Because it's you work once and you get paid. That's like with my partners. I get paid from a partner. Once they become a partner, as long as they keep going, I get paid every month. It's residual income, and it's nice, and it helps me do what I need to do. But what can you say to people? And we can tie in that question in with the last question, which would be how do people get a hold of you and stuff like that. So tie those 2 questions into one. What would you say to some people that are thinking about they need to make a change in their life, and then basically tie it in with is how can you help them personally? So let's go from there.
No, totally. For the people that wanted to make a change in their lives, like how I was, there was usually a lot of times there's like a something that makes you want to quit, right? Or makes you want to make a change. There's this, I can't remember the name of this paradox, but if my work is a mile away from me, I'll walk and it'll take me, 20 minutes to get there. But if my work is 2 miles away from me, I'll drive and it'll take me 10 minutes to get there. So sometimes it's almost, it doesn't get better till things get worse. And that's kind of how it was for me, right? I didn't want to miss all that stuff. So for people that are like, if they're at that point where it's like, they're still the 1 mile away, they're comfortable enough where they're accepting the bribe of their job to give up on their dreams. Right.
I get the word also. I'm sorry to interrupt you there. Are they willing to sacrifice? Because like myself, I have a goal to get a $200,000 bus. Well, I have to work more. I have to save more. I have to spend less. Those are the things that I can physically do. Like you said, hey, if I could save money by walking a mile compared to driving a mile, then that will help me for my goal. So I hear that too, is you got to be able to sacrifice to get what you really want out of life.
100%. I mean, and when you and I were 12, we had huge dreams. And what happens to most Americans is like, okay, I have this massive dreams, but my salary is a lot smaller. So what do? We start compacting our dreams to fit that salary. And I think it's the saddest thing in the world. So I would almost like what I do when I first have conversations with people that want to get started, that want to do something. I talk about those dreams. That's like the first conversation we have is like, why are you here? What motivates you? Sir, if you got into real estate, you made an extra 60 grand this year, or you bought a rental that's giving you $1,000 a month. But what is that for? Like getting into real estate's fine, but if you don't have the reason why you're doing it, like I just want to have better retirement. I don't want to have a pile of money and hopefully I die before that pile runs out. I want to have 10, 15 rentals that gives me $15,000 every single month, where I don't have to worry about my expenses as a retire. It's always me coming in, and I always have that. I can sell the property if I needed to come up with an extra 500,000 for whatever reason, right?
Right.
So that's what we first do, is like have that conversation. So people can reach out to me. We can book a call. You can go to my tree link, treelink.com/ask Jared. treelink.com/ask Jared. That's a great way to follow my socials, and we book a call. Also, my website is www.askjarednow.com. And they can still book a call. We have a conversation about, and it's like a 9-minute conversation. It's just like, what are your dreams? What do you want to do? And the cool thing is, like right now in 2021, me and my wife, we acquired 15 short-term rentals, so Airbnbs.
Okay.
And that income is providing for our life expenses, right? So we work on what we want to work on, and that's been kind of passion this last year, is really just how can I help as many people as I possibly can? And so I just plug them into the same system that taught me. And it's been phenomenal. Like I helped my friend, he got started, and we actually ended up doing a fix flip together, and I made 60 grand on that. And then we did a wholesale together. We did a short-term rental together, and it's phenomenal, because now he's on his way to getting out of his job. Another friend of mine, she just wanted to buy one rental a year because she wanted to have a better retirement. She wanted to actually have a retirement. And so it really depends on what they're looking for, and we can craft a specific plan for them so that they can achieve their dream that they forgot about, to be honest.
Okay. Well, one advantage or a good thing about COVID is everything is now virtual. You can, like us having a conversation. It would be nice to do it in person, but you have got set up. That's why I spend money to get a good camera and some lighting and stuff like that, because that's the virtual. So, because you got people listening. I mean, you're in Utah. I have people in Washington State. I have Massachusetts, Florida, Texas. Yeah. So you do a lot of virtual stuff, because you don't like have a brick and mortar type of office that people walk into. You might, but you don't have to have that. It's so that's a good thing. That's as I said, because of COVID, everybody had no choice. They couldn't go out, so they're doing now you can go to a shrink, like we're talking, like you could be my shrink and I could be talking to you.
Exactly.
They do that now, so it doesn't have to be in person. I mean, we're losing a little things when we don't do things in person. I do like to do interviews in person. There's a little bit more bonding, a little bit more exciting when you're in. I have a show called it's called the Millennium Beat, but it's love stories. I talk about you, how you grew up, and how your wife how she grew up, how y'all met, fell in love, and had kids. And it's exciting. It's a love story. Those are great to sit around the coffee table or sit around the kitchen table and talk, because I've done those before, and it's your home. You're very open and relaxed. Television or computers, they're a little bit less personalized, but you got to do what you got to do. You have no choice. So, but I think a lot of people got some good information. I think I got some. I have to, I'll have to re-listen to it again, and when I edit it, and say, oh yeah, that's a good thing. I want to write you and say, I want to ask you that question. And this hope that people can make, because to me, as I said, I work hard, and I only can make so much money, and I want to have property in other states, stuff like that, because I want to be able to put my coach in Florida. I have a property that I stay at, and I want to stay in North Carolina or Tennessee or something like that. So those are the kind of things I'm looking for in the future. And I'm fortunately, that we didn't get a time to talk about this, but I'm 60. I just turned 60. I got 7 more years before I technically retire.
Right.
But and I didn't do a lot in my life thinking about retirement. I mean, I thought I was going to be a millionaire, so I didn't have to bother. So, but so there's things that we can change and stuff like that. But Jared, I just like to thank you so much for your information, your wealth of knowledge. And hopefully, some people get some great things out of this. Guys who are watching and listening, give Jared a call, give him, talk to him, find out some more. He's legit, he's a company, that you would want to deal with. So Jared, thanks very much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This is a blast. Thank you.
It was good. So guys, you've been listening to the Millennium Beat. I'm Kevin James. Well, guys, we'll see you next week.
This has been a Millennium Beat LLC production. Views and opinions of the guest are not always the views and opinions of the Millennium Beat LLC. Check us out on social media, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and TikTok at the Millennium Beat, or on Twitter at Millennium_Beat. If you would like to partner with us to reach the world, go to our website for more information. You can go to themillenniumbeat.com or tmb2000.net. Your financial support is greatly appreciated. We couldn't do all we do without your support. The Millennium Beat just updated our website from the ground up. Check it out at themillenniumbeat.com, or you can get there by using millenniumbeat.com or tmb2000.net, where you'll be redirected to the millenniumbeat.com's homepage. I want to thank Mass Inbound for their awesome work on our website. If you're looking for somebody to build your site, I recommend them. You can reach them at massinbound.com. That is massinbound.com. These are some of the things that you can find on our website. Homepage. You can watch our latest YouTube video or listen to our audio podcast. Also listed are some of the platforms our audio podcast is on. You'll find out when the next podcast will air and who the guest will be. On the top right, you will find two red buttons, Learn How to Help and Become a Guest. Under Learn How to Help, you can become a partner, sponsor, contributor, or contribute to the future Millennium Bus. You can give one-time or monthly recurring. The choice is yours. The other button is Be a Guest. Click it, go to the form, and fill it out, and we will get back to you. We would love to hear your story. Click the About Us drop-down where you'll find stats, where we are reaching people, and to find more information on our sponsors. Click on the podcast drop-down. Then click on the calendar tab where it will tell you when the shows will air and who will be on them. Or if you need to know about any meetups of the Millennium Beat staff, partners, or listeners. Also, there might be on the calendar an event at which the Millennium Beat staff will be at. Click the guest tab for all previous guests, links to their website, social media pages, and any store they might have. Click the forms drop down. There you'll find a release, be a guest, or become a sponsor form.